So, what happens when you take 50 of the internet's biggest personalities, lock them in a giant cube, and put $1 million on the line? Well, MrBeast decided to find out, and honestly, the result was one of the most chaotic social experiments ever streamed. Let's break down exactly how this whole thing went down.
Right from the creator's mouth, the idea was as simple as it was completely insane. He didn't just invite them to a competition, he literally trapped them. And we're talking the absolute who's who of the streaming world, all packed into one tiny space, ready to go to war.
And the main rule couldn't be any simpler. Pure, unadulterated endurance. A last person standing battle royale where the only real goal is to just not leave the cube. But yeah, with this many egos and a cool $1 million at stake, it was never, ever gonna be that simple. And this right here is what it was all about. A life-changing $1 million prize. Now that kind of money doesn't just motivate people, right? It totally changes how they act. It changes the entire game.
So let's be real here. This was way more than just some game show. It was a massive, high-pressure social experiment. Every single challenge, every little detail was designed to test personalities, strategies, and straight-up popularity. It was all built for maximum drama. The chaos kicked off immediately. I mean, right out of the gate, this thing was basically a $1 million popularity contest. And the very first challenge? They called it a social purge. And it was engineered to create instant tension and show everyone who was really at the top and bottom of the social food chain. The way this worked was just brutal. Each one of the 50 streamers gets a single paintball. Then they have to shoot a photo of the streamer they want to get rid of. The 5 people whose faces get the most paint, eliminated. Gone. It was basically a public execution by popular vote.
And right away, you could see different mindsets popping up. You had some streamers who saw it as a game of chess from the jump. They weren't just thinking about who they didn't like. They were thinking, who's the biggest threat in the long run? Or, how can I vote without making a powerful enemy?
And then you had the total opposite approach. You know, the players who were just hoping their friendly reputation would be like a shield. The whole, I'm a nice guy defense. Their entire strategy was just to not make waves and hope nobody would target them. A pretty risky move in a room full of sharks, if you ask me.
And of course, it took all of, 5 seconds for things to get personal? Yeah. The second that first paintball was fired, any plans or alliances went right out the window. The whole thing just devolved into these personal vendettas. If you got shot, your one and only thought was revenge. This here perfectly captures the pure chaos that erupted from that one simple rule. Alliances were made and broken in minutes. Revenge became the #1 reason for everything. Some people tried to play 4D chess, targeting the biggest threats. Others just played it safe, piling onto the people who were already getting hit. A lot of them just straight up missed because of the pressure. And then you had streamer XQC, whose little outburst pretty much painted a giant target on his own back, uniting almost everyone against him.
Okay, so after that social bloodbath, the game completely shifted gears. The next trial wasn't about who liked who. It was all about nerve. It was designed to test one thing and one thing only. How willing are you to take a massive risk? So here's the crazy choice they had to make. The reward, a brand new Lamborghini. But not for them, for one of their viewers. A huge moment for their channel. But the risk, if you volunteer to play and you lose, you're instantly out of the running for the $1 million. So the question becomes, do you risk it all for your community?
The challenge itself sounded pretty simple on paper. The few who were brave enough to even try it were blindfolded. All they had to do was put a hand on the car and then take it off as close to the 10-minute mark as possible. No clocks, no timers, just a pure test of your internal clock and your nerves.
But of course, somebody found a loophole. It always happens, right? While most of the players were in there desperately trying to count in their heads while everyone else was screaming wrong times at them, 2 of the finalists used a secret weapon, their friends. Yep, their buddies were standing just off camera, tracking the exact time and feeding them perfect instructions. This turned a total guessing game into a precision mission, a perfect example of working smarter, not harder. All right, the next trial was huge. It forced everyone left into this massive dilemma, basically pitting their core identities against each other in a super high-stakes showdown. And look, the stakes here were absolutely insane. More than half of the people still in that cube were about to be eliminated in one round. The pressure was unbelievable. The choice was simple, sports or gaming.
If you picked sports, you were facing a one-on-one soccer shootout. If you picked gaming, you were dropped into a high-pressure, winner-take-all match of Fortnite. You had to bet everything on where your skills truly were.
And then the sports side was full of some really wild moments. Ludwig, a massive streamer, got eliminated for a simple mistake. He accidentally stepped out of the cube to shake the goalie's hand. Then you had Wendy's genius big brain moment, scoring by kicking the ball before the goalie was even set. And maybe the biggest shock, Nick A30, a famous Fortnite player, chose sports, and he actually scored. The tension was just incredible.
Now, over on the gaming side of things, you've got Tfue, a legendary pro Fortnite player, just declaring with total confidence, "There's no way we lose in Fortnite." He and the other pros immediately teamed up, thinking it was going to be an easy walk to the next round. But, and this is a huge but, in a stunning twist, Tfue got eliminated. The expert, the one person who should have dominated this, was out, and it just perfectly shows a key theme of this whole event. When you put this much pressure on people, with $1 million on the line, even the absolute best in the world can crack.
So, after all the chaos, the backstabbing, the high-stakes gambles, what was this whole thing really about? What did this massive battle actually show us?
Well, first, it exposed that every single challenge was engineered for drama. It was all designed to maximize social tension, not just to find the most skilled person. Second, it proved the power of working together. The players who found loopholes and formed alliances often beat out raw talent. Third, we saw again and again how intense pressure makes even the pros crack. And finally, and this might be the most important part, this event showed us all that content is king. The real prize wasn't for the winner. It was for us, the audience, an endless river of viral clips and juicy drama.
And that really leaves us with one last question to think about. In today's creator economy, when you stage a spectacle this massive, what's the ultimate prize? Is it the $1 million that goes to the winner? Or is it the amount of priceless, viral content that gets created along the way? Makes you think, doesn't it?